to this class. I welcome everybody to this class. But before I start, I'll hand over Mary to do the introduction. Then we'll take a round to introduce ourselves before I start. Welcome to the class. Mary, please take over.
Okay, good evening, sir, and welcome to today's session. Thank you for honoring our invite. Guys, this is Mr. Bennett Joko, and he will be teaching us WordPress design, if I'm correct. So, Mr. Bennett, you have the floor, please. You can start because we don't know how long your lecture is going to take.
This is going to be an introductory class. Thank you, Mary. Once again, welcome to this class. My name is Bennett Joko. How many are we in the class? Mary, how many are we in the class?
I can barely hear you, sir.
I said, how many are we in the class?
We can't say for now because we have people that will be joining us from across. So for now we are 6. So you can start. You can start.
Okay, so welcome everybody to the class. My name is Bennett, but most people know me as Ben. We are the first or second generation of working with TRW Consult. I've worked with Mr. Babatunde Oladile. He's still my boss till now, and I'm loyal to him. I've worked with him beyond this class, beyond word development and everything we're going to be talking about today. I want to talk about the habit of excellence. You can't work with Mr. Babatunde Oladile and not develop the attitude or the habit of excellence. Excellence is not a destination. It is habits that you shape over time. You know, when I worked with TRW Consult, I developed a set of personal skills that I know sustain me anywhere in the world. And the reason why I'm talking about this before I'm laying the foundation to the class, so that we will know that the knowledge we are going to be taking away from this class is not something you want to joke with. I want everybody to pay attention clearly, because when I joined the TRW Consult, I won't really say I had no skill like every other person here on this platform. I was just barely a graduate. Yeah, TRW Consult is the first place I worked after I left the university, after my training. Please, at any point in time, if you're not hearing me, just do me a favor by, yes, it's echoing. My office is echoing. My office is echoing. Please bear with me. Let me see if let me open the window. Because it's a new. Is it better now? Is it better now? Please bear with me. I hope to put you through this. So without wasting so much time, I will go straight into what I'm here to do, which is to talk about web design. Let me see if I can share my screen. Can we all see the screen? Can we all see the screen?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Okay, so today I will be talking about a simple guide on how to set up a website, basically without having to learn HTML, CSS coding. But before I go into it, just like I said earlier, I said I was just like every one on this platform when I joined TLW Consult, but I was able to grow a set of skills when I was at TLW Consult. Then we were put through a process that refined us, that eventually when we were leaving, I knew I could survive anywhere. I knew if I survived TLW Consult, I would work, I should be able to work anywhere in the world. And TLW Consult was a pace setter for me. What I mean as pace setter, I mean that the process, the attitude, and the skills I've learned over the years was something I was going to take with me to where I was going to. Web design was just one of those technical skills or IT skills that I had interest in when I was working with Mr. Babatunde Oladele. And you know him, if you've been with him, I'm sure some of you are new, but for those that have been with him, you will know that Mr. Babatunde is someone who is going to give you the platform to learn anything you want to learn, as long as you're willing to develop yourself and you're willing to put yourself to work. So throughout my stay, I threw myself into the system, and I focused more on some of the system, some of the habits he was talking about, habits of personal development, habits of tracking your day, habits of excellence. I started by talking about excellence because in this business of web design, for example, there are too many people doing it. But if you have the habit of excellence, you bring that in alignment with your skills, and by the time you're churning out your job, it's going to be different. So I will be telling the team that will be joining the new cohort, that will be joining Mr. Basude and the team on this to actually put themselves down and learn and make sure they go through the process. Make sure they go through the process, learn everything they need to learn. It's going to be a life skill that will help you professionally, that will help you personally, and also in the business world. So I welcome everyone into this room. So today we'll be talking about from the slide a simple guide on how to set up a website without learning CSS coding and all that. So this will be the table of contents. We'll be talking about why you should be interested in knowing how to build a website, introduction to content management systems. Then, you also want to know why you should use a content management system, why you should use a content management system. But before I proceed, let me tell you a little background about my story. I said I'd worked with Mr. Batunde when I was working with Mr. Babatunde. At some point, I was always asking myself, okay, what's the next thing for me? But Mr. Babatunde will always tell us that when it's time, when you outgrow the position, you would know yourself that you've outgrown the position, and you would know that it is time for you to move. Now, the little skills I've learned with TLW Consult, I've been able to take it across my business and across my career. So, who is Bennett? Bennett is this young man that started his journey with TLW Consult, proceeded to start a business of his own when he left. And today, Bennett is the lead consultant for Strategy Media Nigeria. Bennett currently works freelance with a few companies here in Nigeria and abroad. Just to mention a few, I have some companies here. There's a company in Ikeja where I freelance. Their communications manager. There's a company in Yaba where I freelance. I'm their communication manager. Then I also manage, I freelance with a company in Australia also as their digital communications manager. And where did I start from? Just like I said, I started just like you. I started from TLW Consult. You can't work with Mr. Batunde Oladele and not be a high flyer. So I continue to our table of content. Reasons why most people prefer WordPress. Now, there are so many other content management systems, but the most preferable that people, companies, and organizations are stick with, or individuals are stick with, is called WordPress. I will highlight reasons why people chose WordPress. Then we'll talk about how how you have to get your web hosting, and you register your domain. So these are the highlights of what we're going to be talking about today. And at the end of this class, I believe that everybody should have a deep understanding of how to design a simple website. Maybe after this class, I will share this slide with Mary, and Mary can spread it across. Without wasting time, let's go straight into our training. Why should I be interested in building a website? There are various reasons people should learn to build a website. One of the facts is that number one, if you're running a personal business, it helps you to reduce your startup cost. It helps you to reduce your startup cost. So what that means is that as a startup, when you're going into your own business, you know that, okay, you can build your website by yourself without getting a web designer or a developer to to build your website for you. Then number two is knowledge. Even if you don't want to build your own website, you can actually be knowledgeable. You can have the knowledge and supervise roles. Supervise the role of a web manager or a web editor, and whatever they are saying, it is not strange to you. You know exactly what they are saying. When they use words like domain, they use words like hosting, they use words like VPS, they use words like server, you understand exactly what they are saying. Then also, it's a soft skill for employment. By the time you understand, you take this training further. After now, it becomes a soft skill, for employment. Just like I said, I was interested in this area. I put myself to it, and today is one of my core strengths. It's one of my core strengths. I'm being sorted for web design. The reason why most people call me, oh, Mr. Ben, we see your work, we like your work. It's awesome, it's beautiful. We think we want you to, do so. It's a soft skill for employment. Then it's also a sustainable business venture. So for someone like me who is in this space, and I've been in this space for a couple of years now, that's been a sustainable business venture for me. I've been able to build a business around it and grow my career. So web design business is actually for web design business is a sustainable business venture young people should consider. You can make on the average about 150,000 naira and more in a month. So for instance, if you charge about 200K for building one website, if you're able to get like 3 websites in a month, that is about 600,000. So you should be able to sustain, your business venture around that. Okay, so when I left TRW Consult, just like I said, I started the business of building websites. So I started tracking, my income, and I realized this is a graph of my income. When I left, this was 2018, the graph started growing, it grew, and all that. And I just decided to put this in here for the slide. Introduction. So what is a CMS? Now, there are it is called CMS, a content management system. It's a software application or a set of related programs that are used to create and manage digital content. So it's an application that has already been written. So you're not the one there is nothing new you're coming to do on the CMS. The CMS is already existing. All you're doing as a designer is you're lashing into it and you're getting to use it for your own, personal group. So, and there are so many of them. There are 100 different websites that uses CMS, and there are different CMS. There are different content management systems. Or they grouped all of them, all these applications as content management system. One of them is WordPress, which is the one, just like I said, most people know about because businesses, they find WordPress so easy to use. And over 60% of websites on the internet uses WordPress. And the reason why people use WordPress is because they find it easy. As a startup, they find it easy to manage, they find it easy to tweak, they find it easy to build, they find it easy to hand over to the next person. Even as a beginner, when you're introduced to this particular CMS, it becomes easy for you, to manipulate and, to use to achieve you have Wix, you have Joomla, you have Drupal, you have Pesa, you have this frame, they have a lot of them. This is just to mention a few in the slide. So you can also code your own website from scratch. So for those who choose to code their own website from the scratch, they often don't use a content management system because they will be involved in writing both the front end code and the back end code. But that is often too stressful. And because if you have to go through the development stage, which requires you using both front end, you have to get a front end developer and a back end developer, it becomes too stressful. So you can also code your website, but I wouldn't recommend it mainly for two reasons. I said, one, it takes so much time. It takes so much time to do this. Then also, your end result, most times, if you are not grounded in it, if you've not spent years in learning this code, you've not spent years in mastering, if you choose to handle the front end aspect of the development, if you've not mastered writing the front end code very well, by the time you write your code, it usually ends up as a mediocre work. So it is not a route that most businesses want to go to. So they now choose to stay with a content management system. Remember, I told you that a content management system is an application or a set of related programs that are used to create and manage digital content. And I said one example of a content management system is called WordPress. So we are going to be staying with WordPress today. Which content management system should I use? Just like I said, they have so many of them. They have WordPress, you have Wix, you have Joomla, you have Progress Sitefinity, you have Squarespace, you have Presta, you have Weebly. Some of them are paid. Some of those content management systems, I find it easy calling it CMS. Some of those CMS systems, you have to pay to get to use them. Some of them are free. And one of those CMS that are free is the one that is mostly used, which is WordPress. So you can see I highlighted the ones that are paid. I highlighted the ones that are free. And if you look at the graph I drew, then you will see that 52% of websites on the internet uses WordPress, while 29% uses other CMS like Joomla. The one that is even coming close to WordPress is Joomla. Then after Joomla should be Presta. So, but the point is, WordPress is, the management system that is mostly used. So our training today will be around WordPress. Even though the knowledge you're taking away from WordPress can also be used with other CMS platforms, but we'll be saying more on WordPress today. And at the end of this training, I'll sit back and entertain questions from everyone in this group. Reasons most people prefer WordPress. One, WordPress is the easiest platform anyone can use. It is flexible enough for anyone and everyone. It is flexible enough for small businesses, to build small business websites, to build online shops, and also big organizations use it. You will be so surprised that most of the online stores in the UK have been opportune to build a few, like at least 3 for brands in the UK, and many of them they use WordPress. And the reason why they use WordPress, I've already identified, it is because they find it very easy to tweak, they find it very easy to understand, they find it very easy to manage. You don't want to go and look for a web developer or someone that you'll be paying huge amount of money to manage. That is why I say WordPress. Now let's begin to compare WordPress to other systems. Number one, WordPress versus coding versus HTML and CSS coding. Learning HTML from scratch can take up to 6 months. So if you want to be a front-end developer or a back-end developer, it will take up to 6 months. it will take up to 6 months, to learn those basic coding. Just let alone CSS and PHP. So you have to learn this coding. And having a basic knowledge of HTML can help you gauge things more quickly. So part of what helped me in this journey was that prior to my knowledge of WordPress, I was already knowledgeable with HTML. So because I already knew basic HTML codes like breaking codes, like Matthew, to make things cool and other things. So because I already had those knowledge, it was easy for me, to bring those knowledge into WordPress. So, but if you say you want to go through the route of coding, through the route of, being a front end or a back end developer, the least you can learn, whether HTML or CSS or PHP, it will take you at least 6 months. But you see, for WordPress, you can only go through 3 phases to become a master of WordPress. The beginner's phase, which is what we are doing, the intermediary phase, the second phase, and the final phase, where you become a master. You also want to compare WordPress to other websites, to other CMS platforms. So website builders are expensive. So if you choose to go through website builders that uses other CMS platform that uses website builders like Wix, some of them are very expensive and they will be charging you per month. So it means every month you probably will pay up to like $96. And so that would be a lot of money. Meanwhile, you don't have to spend that much to build a WordPress website. You also want to compare WordPress versus Joomla or Drupal. WordPress is just so much more user friendly. It is user friendly. It is very easy for you to understand. So these are the basic reasons why people choose to use WordPress against other content management systems. Now that you know that we have stayed with WordPress, how do you now get to understand? How do you get to understand the system around WordPress? How do you get, to have a website that has, WordPress as a basic CMS? So for every website uses what is called hosting and a domain. So it brings us to the next slide that talks about getting a web hosting and getting to register a domain. Now, before I read what is in the slide or I talk about what is in the slide, let me talk about what a domain name means. A domain name is a web address like your sitename.com. So if I choose to build a website around my name, say ben.com, ben.com becomes my domain. So it is, if I'm going to use a physical asset to explain, like your house, if I'm going to use a physical asset to explain like your house, you can't identify a house without the number, or you can't identify a house without the color. There has to be a description for you to identify that house. And that is what your domain is. Your domain is the address, is the description used to identify your particular website on the internet. So just like I said in the slide, your domain name is your web address. It's your web address, like your site name.com. I just put an example here. Now, a website cannot run without a domain. A website cannot run without a hosting. So when you have your domain, the next thing you get is a web hosting. Now, a web hosting is a service that connects your site to the internet. Your site cannot be live on the internet without a web hosting. So let me give you an example. When I use a house as an asset, your house, the number on the building of the house is the domain. The number on the building of the house is the domain, while the structure itself is the hosting. So the building itself is the hosting now, but the house, the number is the domain. So in order to store your images, your content, your web files, you are going to need a web hosting. Your web hosting is the house that houses all your images, your content, your files, and everything that you want to do on your website. It is being stored on your web hosting. Without a web hosting, your website cannot be visible on the internet. Only your own domain name looks far more professional than having your site on someone else's domain name. So what some of these content management systems do, like Wix, they will want you, because many people on such CMS can't pay for their service. You will not say, okay, since you cannot pay, let's give you a free service. So they will now tell you to have, for example, I use my name as ben.com. They will now say you can have a domain called ben.wix.com. That is not professional. That is why I noted today that owning your own domain name looks more professional than having your site on someone else's domain. So what happens is that Wix is now attaching you to their domain. So when you use that for your business, it is not professional, and people will know that you are using a free service, and and it's not too good, since owning your own domain is affordable. Your domain costs like $12 to $14. If we are going to take it in naira, before the increment in things, domain used to be about 6,000 naira, 11,000 naira, but now I think it's about 24,000 naira in naira. So in a nutshell, without a web hosting and a domain name, your website will not exist. Your website will not exist. So let's set up your website now. So if you want to set up your website, the first thing you do is that you have to choose a company where you can register your domain. Now, there are so many companies on the internet, where you can register your domain. You have bluehost.com, you have namecheap.com, you have interserver.com, you have siteground.com. If I'm bringing you back to Nigeria, there are so many hosting and domain companies in Nigeria. You have Domain King, you have Google Host, you have Go54, you have Domain Niger, you have so many of them. So first of all, you want to choose a company where you will purchase both your domain and your hosting. So when you've done that, then you choose a domain name. If you don't have a domain name yet, you can always, find the name of your business, craft a name around your business. You're making a website for your business. So for those making a website for their business or for their personal use, your domain name should match your company's name. Your domain name should match your company's name. It should match your brand name. If you're planning to set up a website for yourself, just like I said for myself, I just use ben.com as an example. If I want ben.com, my domain name will be ben.com. So when you've done that, then you now choose the package. Now, on those websites, they usually have, after you purchase your domain, you want to get your hosting, they usually have packages, different hosting packages. All packages are not the same. You have number one, you have what is called a shared hosting. Now, a shared hosting is a hosting where you definitely, you're not the only one using that server. The only thing the hosting company is doing is that they are cutting a part of the server and they are giving it to you to use. So for beginners, they usually get to use shared hosting. In fact, for most businesses, they get to use shared hosting because they don't even get to exhaust the space on the shared hosting. You only use a virtual server. You only use a virtual server when you know that, okay, what you're doing is robust. And what you're doing is even extra robust, you go for a dedicated server. So you have virtual, you have shared hosting, you have virtual server, you have dedicated server. So you choose which of the package you want. But for beginners, I usually recommend you go for a shared hosting. Understanding the importance of domain name servers. Now, when you buy a domain, the domain just literally exists. It's just like you build a house. You now said, okay, I want to give this house a number. If you have to give the house a number, it means that that number cannot just exist in the air. There has to be a house. So what it means is that you go on that house and write the number. So if I choose number 7, if I call my building number 7, what it means is that when people come on that street, they want to separate number 7 from number 8, and number 7 cannot just exist in the air. So number 7 has to be tagged to that building. So what usually connects your hosting and your domain together is called domain name server. What connects your hosting and your domain together, what connects your web hosting and your domain together is called domain name server. They are pointers that connect your domain to your host account. This means that the only way your host can identify your domain is through the use of domain name servers. So what it means now is that now when I buy my domain, let me use, for example, what I do for clients, especially for clients that are complaining that, our budget, we have a low budget for this. They say, okay, do you know what? Since you have a low budget, let's buy your domain here in Nigeria. Let's buy it in Naira. Then we preferably buy your hosting in with a foreign company. Maybe let's say SiteGround, or InterServer, or Bluehost. Now you can see that it's two different companies. Let me say I bought my hosting in Bluehost and I'm buying my domain in Google Host here in Nigeria. Bluehost will sell me the hosting in dollars. Google Host will sell me the domain in Naira. Now I need to connect this Nigerian company that sold the domain name to me and the US company that sold the hosting, web hosting to me. I need to connect them together. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to locate the domain name servers. So the company that sold the hosting to me, they are going to give me two sets of server numbers. We usually call it DNS1 and DNS2, domain name server 1 and domain name server 2. So your domain name server 1 will be given to you. It's a set of numbers. Sometimes it could be letters, it could be alphabet, but they will give you something. Those two codes, you now carry those codes, you carry those numbers, you carry those alphabets, your domain name server. You now take it to the platform where you bought your domain and insert those numbers or those letters into the space created for domain name server and save them. Immediately you save them, the company where you bought the domain name, the hosting will be able to identify the domain name. Then you can proceed from there. I said, for instance, when you purchase your domain with Namecheap and a hosting package with googlehost.com, the only way your hosting account will be identified, we identify the domain on Namecheap.com is by adding name servers from Google Host and adding to the domain name on Namecheap for the website to start propagating. So when you add those two domain names, when you add your domain name server to your DNS server to your domain domain begins to propagate. Propagate means that it can now, the hosting company can now see that you can now proceed to take it online. The process of updating a name server may sometimes take up to 24 hours. Sometimes it will take you 24 hours, depending on the host. Some hosts, their propagation time is very fast. Some is just barely minutes. Some is 7 hours. Some is 5 hours. Some is 15 hours. Some is 24 hours. I remember doing something for a client in the UK on Monday. Today is Wednesday. And the client is saying, I've not seen it, and I'm already seeing it here in Nigeria. So I told the client, just give it 24 hours. Then today, when I got to the office, the client said, it's working perfectly now. So it took 24 hours for Google Host here in Nigeria to propagate the domain to the UK. So it depends on the company. The time of propagation depends on the company. The role of cPanel for your website. Now, when you purchase a hosting account, you would be given what is called the cPanel. You'll be given what is called the cPanel. The cPanel is what you need to be able to install your CMS. The cPanel is what you need to be able to install your CMS. So now that you have purchased a domain name and a hosting package, what next? A cPanel information will be sent to your mailbox. They will tell you new website activated. They will now give you the cPanel. The cPanel is actually called control panel. The control panel is more like the engine room where you will do the installation and so many other things. On the cPanel, you will find an application called Softaculous App Installer. You will find an application called Softaculous App Installer. This is where you will install your WordPress. In fact, when you get to that Softaculous App Installer, you will see so many CMS platforms. Some of those CMS that we identify like Drupal, Joomla, WordPress, Pressa, Wix. You will see so many CMS there that has already been done. You will now choose the particular one you want to build with. But in our own case, we will choose WordPress. So on the C panel, you will scroll down, you will see a place called Subtaculous App Installer. You will click on it, you will see your various CMS, then you will choose WordPress. You will install your WordPress. After you have installed your WordPress, you now log into your WordPress. You log into your WordPress and and you begin to it means once you install your WordPress now, your website will now be visible on the internet. That is when you log into your WordPress. That's when you get to see your www.ben.com. But when you install your WordPress, you'll be given a back end admin, because as an administrator now, you want to be able to manage the WordPress, you want to be able to install application on it, work on it, build, design, and all that. So you will log in to the admin dashboard using the link I wrote there. Log into your WordPress with this link, https://yoursite.com/wp-admin. Now, that is the link, more like the door now to the WordPress. Now you are no longer dealing with the cPanel, you are no longer dealing with the hosting company, because look at how we are coming. We came from the domain, we purchased the domain, we purchased the hosting. In the hosting, we were giving domain name servers. We took the domain name servers, we added it to the domain propagated, we could see it on our hosting. From the hosting, we were given a cPanel information. We clicked on the cPanel information. It opened a new interface. We went straight to Subtaculous App Installer, clicked on it. We saw so many CMS platforms: Drupal, Joomla, Pressa, WordPress. We clicked on WordPress. We installed WordPress. Now that WordPress is installed, we now went straight into our admin dashboard using https://our-website.com/wp-admin. Now, wp-admin tells you that you are using a WordPress and content management system for that website. Let's go on. Now, this is what it's going to look like. Now, when you go into the cPanel, this is an example of what the cPanel looks like. You see domain, you see auto installers, you see different tools. But when you come to auto installers, you come to this place, you will see Subtaculous. You can see I highlighted it. You see Subtaculous. When you click on this Subtaculous, you will now see all this: Joomla, Magento, CCAD, Presta, PHP, BB3, site software. You see WordPress. You click on WordPress. When you click on WordPress, you install your WordPress. Now, when you are installing your WordPress, they will show you some free themes that you can use. The WordPress will ask you, what do you want to build? Do you want to build a shop? Do you want to build a business website? Do you want to build a personal website? They will recommend some themes to you. Now, with those themes, you install those themes, then you will see your website. This is an example of what, after installing, this is an example of what you will see. Now, when you now log into your WordPress, now remember, we are no longer dealing with the hosting company. We are no longer dealing with the cPanel, because you have now installed our WordPress. This is what you're going to see. You're going to see a dashboard. You can see WordPress 3.8. Well, this is old. I think I did this slide when they were using WordPress 3.8. As at this point, they are using WordPress 7.2. I think either 6.8 or 7.2. That's what they are currently using. So, and your WordPress over time, as they keep improving on it, you have to keep updating. Now you are into your dashboard. You can see dashboard. You see posts, media, pages, comments, appearance, plugin, users, tools, settings, and more. So this is what your dashboard is going to look like after you've installed WordPress. And that is why it is so easy. When looking at it, you see, okay, you see on the left-hand side, you see the stuff you want to do. If you want to write a post, it goes to post. If you want to put pictures, you go to media. You want to create pages for your website, you go to pages, comments, appearance, plugins. Over time, we'll talk about what these things are as we proceed. Everything is easily labeled on WordPress. If you are feeling a bit overwhelmed, don't sweat it. I'm going to show you where to go next. So I'm going to, show you where to go next. So when you install your WordPress, you can see it's time to access free things. Say, okay, I want to build, um, an e-commerce shop. What you need to do, you go to under appearance. Under appearance, you see themes. When you click on themes, you can see you have WordPress to tell you install themes. Pick from any of the free themes. WordPress has over 1,500 themes, about 2,000. They keep adding free themes, as many as you want. They have free themes, they have paid ones. So you go there and select the particular one you want. Once you're on the dashboard, you've got access to over 1,500 free themes. Just sidebar, check the sidebar for appearance, then click on themes. You can also purchase a theme online. So there are people who don't want free themes. They say, oh, I don't want my website to look like every other website on the internet. There are platforms where you can go and purchase themes. A theme is an already designed website. They've already designed it for you. You just pay maybe $50. They sell the thing to you. You bring it and you install it on your WordPress dashboard. When you install it, then you begin to tweak it for your need. So example of such theme platforms where you can buy themes, you have Theme Forest, Theme Bar. There are so many of them. When you check online, you see a lot of them. So finish by adding content. Finish by adding content. Now that you have chosen a template, edit the pages to suit your needs. Add content to your pages to make it robust. It is this easy. Very, very easy. And that is it. Your WordPress is already live. You've been able to add things to it. You've been able to add pages to it, and you are good to go. Make sure you make it robust by adding pages and all that and redefining it. And that is it. But before we end this session, because we are still at the beginner level. When you get at this level, you get to use their free things. But when you say you don't want to use free things, just like I said, there are platforms where you can buy themes. And if you don't want to use themes, there are builders. I didn't put that on this. There are builders. I didn't put that on this. There are web builders that you can use to beautify your theme. One of them is called Elementor. There are so many. You have page builder, web page builder. You have Elementor builder. You have DB builder. You have wireframe builder. There are so many builders, but for me, I'm specialized because when I was with Mr. Batunde, one of the systems we were able to identify was DB. And as I'm talking to you now, DB is the #1 builder, that people find so easy to build. After DB is the Elementor. So there are most designers don't use the same builder. So the builder where you are a specialist in, that is where you focus on. For me, I am a specialist in building with DB builder because that is what I have practiced with over the years. So, but there are websites, for example, some of the companies I said I'm working for, that I was brought on board, I wasn't the one that built the site. I discovered that they use Elementor builder, but because I am vast, I've spent years in doing this, I'm able to find my way around it. The difference between Elementor and DB builder is not much. They practically use the same principle. So if you're able to use an Elementor builder, you should be able to use DB builder. But I'm also going to tell you something that helped me grow in this business of building website was the fact that I was also used in watching YouTube videos. So at some point in your journey of learning how to design a website, you have to go online to check, when you get confused. And before you know, you move from being a beginner to the process of intermediate or an intermediate professional in this field. And this is it. That is just it. I hope in this little explanation, I've been able to make you understand in summary what it means to design a website from scratch, to finish. Let me show you a few examples that I was able to build in just my beginning years. This is one of it. I think Mr. Batude gave me this project, and this, I was able to build this. I was able to build this also for the church. I was able to build this also. Okay, I remember doing this for Mr. Batude. I don't think if this website is still alive. I was able to do this also for a client. This, the list goes on. So I hope I've been able to expatiate on it. Thank you, everyone. I'll be sitting back to take your question. Thank you. Mary, please take on.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Bennett. That was quite an interesting class. In fact, I even had to jot down a few things that, you know, were a bit strange to me. But thank you it was more or less like you, for me though, I won't speak for others, it was more or less like you dissected it and you made it very, very simple to understand. So thank you so much, sir. And for the rest of us, if we have questions, please let's quickly do that. We have another session tomorrow. Today is just the presentation. We have the practical class tomorrow. So we should ask our questions now before we start practicals tomorrow. Okay, Gloria, you said you have a question. Unmute yourself.
Good evening, Ma. Good evening, sir. So this is my question, sir. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you, Gloria. Please continue.
Okay. Before I proceed to my question, I want to say thank you for this session. It was really amazing. Like literally carried us through the process.
I've lost you. I've lost you. I've lost you. Hello, Gloria. I can't hear you anymore. Hello. Hello, Gloria.
Maybe her network. If you can type it, we can't hear you, Gloria. If you can type it, all the better for us so that we can at least read it out. If you're having network issues.
While we are waiting for Gloria, if any other person has a question, we just pick it up.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Amos. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the lecture. That's very interesting one. Thank you so much. And my question is that if you look at the domain hosting, as we said earlier on, we have in Nigeria and we have some in abroad. And you discover that those in abroad are quite expensive when you compare to hosting in Nigeria. Do they perform the same functions, those of abroad and the hosting in Nigeria? Do they perform the same function? The one in Nigeria, are they as fast as that of the one abroad? Because they are quite expensive. Thank you, sir.
Oh, it's a beautiful question. I actually expected this question. So I would want to share an experience. During going through the process of entrepreneurship, I learned the hard way. I never had anyone to actually put me through. If I had someone who had put me through this kind of question, if I had answer to this question, there were mistakes I made when I started my journey into entrepreneurship that I wouldn't have made. So just like you said, most companies in Nigeria, most hosting and domain companies in Nigeria, I shouldn't be saying this because it's actually demarketing them. They are reseller companies. So they usually don't have infrastructure, they don't have servers. So what they do is that they are more like a third-party company. They go meet some of these companies abroad, they buy a package, a reseller package from them, and they build a structure around it and resell to Nigerians. So what usually happens is that you have their systems shutting down uninterruptedly. So there were times those days when I started into this business, when I was using Nigerian hosting company, I would be sleeping maybe around 8 o'clock in the night. My phone would just ring. Mr. Ben, I can't find my website. And I will go online and check. The website is not on. I will go back to the hosting company. They tell us, we are sorry, sir. Our server is down. We are always having one excuses or the other. Then in 2018, either 2018, 2019, I stopped using Nigerian hosting company and I moved all my clients to a foreign hosting company. So what you discover is that those foreign hosting companies, they usually don't have what is called downtime, and they have the expertise to handle any problem you would think of. For example, one of the challenges I faced also using Nigerian hosting company was that it was easy for gray hackers and black hackers to hack into their servers and hijack somebody's website and use it for unethical use, for fraud, for scam, whatever they wanted to use it for. So, but just like I said, I learned the hard way. So, but most of these foreign companies, most of these foreign hosting companies, they have infrastructures to actually protect your website. They have systems, they have functionalities to help you protect your website. They have functionalities to make sure that you don't have downtime, for your website. So that is the difference. They are a bit expensive, yes, but you're sure that your website will always be on and your website will always be running. So you have no reason to say you're looking for your website. And they have systems to also ensure that when your hosting plans expire, some of them will give you up to a month to renew your hosting package. But for Nigerian companies, because they have limited resources, they may not give you up to a month. They will tell you that maybe after 2 weeks or after 3 weeks, if you don't renew your hosting, they will delete your website. So the barrage of problems were much. I just had to move. I no longer use Nigerian hosting companies to build websites for my company, for my clients, or for people I'm working for. So I had to stay. It's a bit expensive, but I incorporate. It is better for it to be expensive, and I have my peace of mind. I'm using Nigerian companies today. They will tell me their website is down. Problems that are not of my own making. So that's the reason. They are Nigerian. So the only thing I do with Nigerian companies is to buy domain from them. I only buy domain from them. I don't buy hosting from them. I hope this answers your question. Gloria, you can continue. I can see your hand. Gloria, let's take a question.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir, thank you. Okay, before I was talking about how you literally took us through the class, it was really engaging and I enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you, sir. So here is my question. Sir, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Please
Thank
proceed.
you, sir. So here is my question. You said that when you have like an organization, the name of on your domain and the name of your domain should be the same name of your organization. So what if, for example, now I have two different brands? So I have to like buy different two different domain names for the different brands, or I can use one domain and hosting name for my two different brands.
Oh, beautiful question, Gloria. Now that depends on the if there are two distinct brands. For example, one is for selling shoe, the other is for publishing books. You can't bring selling a shoe and publishing a book under the same platform. What it means is that you're going to have two distinct brands. You have to build two distinct websites for them. However, if you have two different brands in the same direction, for example, you're publishing a book, that is one service, one brand, you choose to call that a brand, and you're also um, you're into ghostwriting, and you choose to call that another brand, you can house those because they are still pursuing the same purpose. You can house both of them under one brand. But when there are two distinct brands that there is no connecting dots, it is better to have two distinct websites for you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Any other question?
Hello, good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Good evening. I can hear you, Mr. John.
All right. Thanks for the class, for taking us through the class. I have two questions to ask. And the first one is so I stumbled on a course. It's also about building website, right? And the platform that were introduced to was sorry, I'm on the road though. Maybe
Okay,
I
I can hear
might be
you.
hearing the background sound. All right, the
I
platform
can
we're
hear you.
introduced to was Go High Level. So I want to know what's the difference between Go High Level. I don't know if you know about it, and WordPress. That's number one question.
So,
Number two question is um, building a platform like Coursera or Udacity, those kind of huge, strong websites. Can WordPress really work? I mean, can we use WordPress to build such a platform like, to really stand the test of time?
okay, beautiful. Yeah, let me start from your first question. I didn't really pick the name of the platform, but the reason why I would advise you not to, focus so much on that platform, the only thing you want to go on that platform is just to maybe build experience and quickly move to WordPress. If you were part of the class from the beginning, I already told you that 52% of websites on the internet uses WordPress. So what that means is that if you're skilled in WordPress, you're likely, if you're joining an organization, the possibility of them using WordPress is higher than any other platform. Do you get it? Because WordPress designers or developers, they are all over the place and it is easy to use. So that platform, if you spend your time understanding that platform, learning about that platform, or learning about that particular CMS, what will happen to you is that when you find yourself in a system where they are not using that particular CMS, you become obsolete. So you have a skill that is no longer, that is not in high demand. So I usually recommend people to stay with what, if you know that what they are using more is WordPress, just stick with WordPress. Stick with WordPress, understand WordPress very well, and you are able, to find your way around. For that particular system, I really don't know that particular system. But they will also have their system, they will have their videos, they will have their path to learning and understanding that particular system. But I'm recommending to you now, and I can, tell you for a fact that most of the organizations I've joined, from the ones in Victoria Land to the ones in Kenya to the ones outside the country, when they are bringing me on their platform, by the time I open the system, I get to realize that they are all using WordPress. So the first thing I would advise you to do is to stick with WordPress, understand it, understand how the system will work, because you're likely to meet brands, more brands that uses WordPress. Just like I said, 52% of websites on the internet run on WordPress. That is one. Then two, what was your second question? Sorry, I lost it. The second question. Okay, yeah, for platforms, if they can build platforms like what did you call the Udemy, if they can build platforms like Udemy and all those platforms where people go to learn, we call them learning management systems. There is, first of all, disabuse your mind. There is nothing WordPress cannot do, and that is why most brands use this WordPress. There is nothing you want to achieve that you cannot achieve with WordPress. You can actually install the WordPress and recode it if you have the knowledge of coding, and recode it. In fact, if you don't even need to have the knowledge right now, now that you now have AI that is now writing code for people, you can just go to your AI, tell your AI to write this particular code for you. You copy that code, you take it to the particular part of WordPress where you want to use it, you apply it there, it gives you that functionality. So there is nothing you cannot do with WordPress. Just like I said, you can use WordPress to build learning management system like Udemy. I've done it. I've done it for brands, even in Lagos. I think one of Mr. Batunde's friends, that runs a sales agency. I built an online learning management platform for him, for where people come to self-learn, where they do self-learning or DIY learning on sales, and there are videos, and just like Udemy. So there is nothing you can use WordPress to build learning management systems. So there is nothing WordPress can do, just like I told you. It's just for you to understand it and know how to go about it. So get yourself skilled in it. Thank you. Any other question? Any other question before we round up? Any other question before we round up? Okay. At this point, I think there are no questions. Mary? Mary? Take over. Let's round up. I
Okay.
think at this point.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you
can
so
hear you.
much. And since we have no further questions, I believe we can call it a night. Yeah. So we still meet up tomorrow for the practical session. So good night, everyone. We still meet up tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time, Mr.
Taking the
Bennett.
lights
I hope to see you tomorrow
taking the
for
lights
the
off here.
presentation. Sorry, the practical aspect.
So I would recommend that for anyone who wants to build hands-on by themselves while we are doing the practical
Hello, I
tomorrow,
can hardly hear you, sir.
I said I would recommend for anyone who wants to build their own website as a practical, stuff tomorrow, so that it doesn't look as if I'm the only one building tomorrow. I recommend they purchase a hosting and a domain. There are affordable hosting and domain just for the purpose of practicing themselves tomorrow before coming on this platform. Then we'll all just practice together. So that would be it. So Mary, please take over. Hello, Mary, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mary? Can you hear me, Mary? Can you hear me? Okay, so everyone, okay, like it back.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, I think Mrs. Mary's network is acting up, sir.
Okay. So
Yes,
we can call it a day.
Yes, sir, we can, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. So at this point, I'll be leaving.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
Okay,
Stay
sir.
blessed and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. See you tomorrow, sir.
All right. Bye.
Bye, sir.